Most people think that muscle growth is all about high testosterone or high intake of protein. But what if I told you that you can have high testosterone and eat 300 grams of protein a day and train 4 or 5 times per week and still not grow? Because the real driver for muscle growth, the forgotten hormone, has nothing to do with testosterone, and almost nobody in fitness industry talks about it. Today, I'm going to expose it, and once you understand it, your body will finally respond to training no matter your age. For the ones who are new on my channel, I am Dr. Nash Josic, former bodybuilding champion. I have competed 46 times and won 17 titles. I have been in bodybuilding for over 40 years, and during that time I have personally coached over 3,500 clients and helped them to get in the best shape of their lives. I have also published for you 11 ebooks which are fully loaded with most detailed explanation about everything you always wanted to know about bodybuilding, like muscle growth, fat loss, training systems, training splits, number of sets, number of reps, intensity training for beginners, nutrition, lifestyle change, and much, much more. So, if you want to expand your knowledge and finally start growing and losing body fat, you can simply click on the link in the comments, and you will be able to access my ebooks. Why this matters? Because most men over 40 train hard but still shrinking. They look in the mirror and say, "How is this possible? I'm doing everything right. I'm training with high intensity 4 or 5 times per week. I'm eating high amount of protein, but I'm still not growing. Actually, I'm getting smaller. The problem is not effort. The problem is that your hormonal environment actually works against you. A 99% of lifters never think about it. You simply cannot build muscle in the hormonal state that works against you. Doesn't matter how hard you train and how many reps you do. Doesn't matter if you eat chicken and broccoli every 3 hours. If wrong hormone is dominant, your muscle building switch is off. So what the fitness industry gets wrong, modern advice is obsessed with testosterone boosters. You've seen them everywhere. Oh, you take this, you boost your testosterone, you get bigger. Also, protein powders. You have to take protein powders, more protein, more muscle. So many of those calorie calculators. You have all these apps that will show you how many calories per meal per day, how much you should take off if you want to burn fat. What is the surplus for weight gain? Blah, blah, blah. Absolute nonsense. Nothing works. Also, macros is always protein, carbs, fat. Protein is this carbohydrates, very important. Again, obsession, which is absolutely wrong. And the final one, if you want to get big, you need to eat more. So every influencer tells you more protein, more food, and push harder. But that is not working, and many of you have experienced that. Many of you, especially the guys over 40 who are trying everything, training hard but still not changing. This is something that I'm going to address now. So what did guys in golden era did, right? Well, they hit exactly that nail in the head. They were dealing with anabolic environment. So, Vince Gurr spoke about anabolic environment. He spoke about the food which will create anabolic environment, which will be favorable for muscle growth. Serge Nubra did high number of reps and high number of sets in order to cause that metabolic state for growth. They didn't know biochemistry, they felt the truth. Your body builds muscle when the internal environment allows it. Period. So, what is the name of that forgotten hormone? Finally, I'm going to unlock that secret for you and explain to you how that switch mechanism works. So, let us start with that forgotten hormone, and this is insulin. The forgotten hormone, insulin. Now, before you say insulin is bad, insulin stores fat. Yes, chronically elevated insulin is destructive, but here is the truth. Insulin is the master anabolic hormone in the body, and it determines whether nutrients go into the muscle or go into the fat. Every rep, every meal, every recovery signal runs through insulin sensitivity, so that insulin sensitivity, the master switch for body transformation, insulin sensitivity, is actually the key answer for metabolic switch. Let me explain to you now how insulin controls muscle growth. So muscle growth only happens when your cells are insulin sensitive. That means that the glucose and amino acids can enter muscle cells. If your insulin receptors are not sensitive, muscle cells are not sensitive, they won't allow an entry of amino acids and glucose into the muscle cells, and the muscle will start shrinking. Also, the hormonal environment has to be low stress and low cortisol. So these three things are absolutely critical for muscle growth. So what happens when you lose insulin sensitivity? And this is something that happens usually to people over 40 who do not exercise and don't eat correctly. First of all, nutrients don't enter muscle. Recovery slows down. Also, inflammation raises. So all these are consequences of low insulin sensitivity. Your hormone testosterone becomes less effective, and a muscle loss accelerates even if you are training hard. And this is why lots of people over 40 say, I train really hard. I train the same way as I was 20, 25, but I don't respond anymore. You have to think about your muscle hypertrophy like a pyramid. So muscle hypertrophy explained as a three-layer pyramid. Imagine a pyramid with 3 layers. So you have a base layer, you have a middle layer, and you have a top layer. So on the base layer, you have to understand is metabolic environment. So you have to be metabolically sensitive, responsive to growth. Now, middle layer are recovery hormones and growth hormones like testosterone, growth hormone, and also very powerful a gas signaling molecule called nitric oxide. That molecule is so important as the most powerful that I'm going to do a special video about nitric oxide to explain to you the importance of this gas signaling molecule and explain to you how to increase production of nitric oxide via your training and nutrition. So this is the middle layer, testosterone, growth hormone, nitric oxide. Now the top layer is protein, calories, supplements. The problem is that most people today turn this pyramid upside down, so they are more obsessed with the top layer, which is protein, calories, carbs, supplements, but they completely neglect the base, which is actually collapsed because you cannot build a house from the roof. You have to build a house from the foundation. So if this pyramid is taken upside down, you're just going to be wasting time. You need to understand once again, base layer is your environment, metabolic environment. The middle layer, recovery and growth hormones like testosterone, growth hormone, and also nitric oxide, and the top layer again, protein, calories, and supplements. So if you start doing things as explained, you will start benefiting. If you turn this pyramid around, you're going to start shrinking. So why most of the people stop growing after the age of 40? With age, three things that destroy insulin sensitivity. As you age, things destroy insulin sensitivity. Number 1 is high carb diet and constant snacking. I have emphasized this in so many videos that if you eat high carbohydrate meals, you will become insulin resistant, especially if you eat 4, 5, 6, or 7 times a day, as most of you probably do. You're pumping insulin all the time, and this simply lowers insulin sensitivity and drives you towards development of insulin resistance, which is a very bad metabolic state. Number 2 reason why most of the people over 40 lose insulin sensitivity is constant stress, and that constant stress forces the body to produce high cortisol levels. So cortisol becomes constantly elevated. Number 3 reason for a lowering insulin sensitivity of the age of 40 is lack of deep sleep. You need to sleep. You need minimum of 7 hours, 7 to 10 hours per night. So these 3 factors are key reasons that makes your insulin sensitivity low. You need to understand that cortisol is anti-muscle hormone. In signals, it signals the body to break muscle and to feed the brain. So when cortisol is high, the body is in the survival panic mode and produces energy which is absolutely necessary for that panic state by breaking down muscle cells into glucose in order to feed the brain and feed the muscles, or feed that stress situation which is absolutely unnecessary. So if insulin is the builder, cortisol is the demolition crew. Most guys are in the state where cortisol is high, insulin is high, sensitivity is low, and inflammation is high, and this is the muscle-building dead zone. So how do you turn insulin into anabolic weapon? Insulin is not bad. Insulin is bad when is overproduced when you enter the chronic elevation of insulin in your body. But there are two main switches which will turn on your anabolic state. Number one is low baseline insulin, so you need to eat food which is not going to create spikes and also high production of insulin throughout the day. Number two is high insulin sensitivity. So how do you achieve high insulin sensitivity? By lowering amount of carbohydrates in your diet, your cells become extremely insulin sensitive, and now glucose and amino acids can enter the muscle cells. They are simply welcome there, so that the muscle cell can grow. Finally, if your insulin sensitivity is low, your muscle cells will close receptors. So regardless of your testosterone and high-intensity workouts and 300 grams of protein a day, your muscle cells will not grow. So insulin is that magic switch that will decide either your muscle cell will grow or either they will shrink. So I'm going to give you the practical protocol for men over 40. Actually, this applies for everybody, but especially for men over 40. And this is a simple muscle-building insulin. The insulin-based strategy for muscle-building strategy. First of all, you need to eat 2 to 3 times a day, not 5 or 6. 2 to 3 meals have to be protein dominant. So protein is the main macronutrient in your meals. Also some amount of fat but low carbohydrate. You need to keep your carbohydrates only post-workout if you are eating them at all. So people who feel that they need them, people who think they feel better or for whatever reason, if you want to eat carbs, eat them only after your workouts. So this 3 rules will basically help you increase your insulin sensitivity and turn that muscle building switch on. When it comes to training days, your morning should be either fasted or very low insulin. I personally don't eat in the morning. I eat around 11 or 12. I like to get to feel hungry before my first meal, so my mornings are usually fasted. If I wake up at 7 or 8, I'm not going to eat anything till 11 or maybe 12. So I have 3-4 hours basically with no food in my body, which allows my body to continue to burn body fat, which you're actually doing during the night. You just add extra 3 or 4 hours. You're burning continuously that body fat, and also you are getting hungry. The body is getting ready to absorb the food, and this is one of the ways to increase insulin sensitivity. In training days, train with tension-focused volume. Don't chase weights. Don't follow that heavy-duty all-out one-set exercise nonsense, because that is not going to take you anywhere. There is a million of reasons why high volume, meaning high sets and high reps, are extremely effective and important for your metabolic health, number one, and also metabolic environment that will stimulate muscle growth. Now, when it comes to non-training days, I would advise you to eat very low carb or no carb at all, high protein and higher amount of fat. So in non-training days, you don't need carbohydrates at all. I don't need them at all anyway every 7 days per week. But for some of you who feel that you need some carbohydrates, then in non-training days, make sure that you don't eat them at all or eat very, very little, maybe 30-40 grams a day. Also during your days off when you're not training, so if you're training 4 times per week, you have 3 days off. In those 3 days, I would suggest you to go for 45 to 60 minutes outdoor walks. This will improve your insulin sensitivity, lower your cortisol, get you to stress you, get you in a very positive mood. And again, something extremely important: outdoor walks, medium pace, nothing fast, nothing intense, are the best way to produce nitric oxide. Again, there will be a special video just on that subject. And the last thing, in non-training days, you should be sleeping at least 7-8 hours every night. So I have to say a few words about that famous, not nitric oxide, why nitric oxide matters more than you think, which is extremely important. Insulin sensitivity, because insulin sensitivity improves when microcirculation improves. Now, when you are doing those walks, for example, and you go for 60 minutes walk in the forest or in the park, make sure that you're breathing through your nose, because when the air goes through your paranasal sinuses, they produce most of nitric oxide, which goes directly into the lungs, increasing the oxygen absorption in your lungs. So you are basically killing two birds with one stone. So that nitric oxide is most powerful consolidator, meaning it helps arteries to become more flexible. They stretch further, so your blood pressure drops down. Basically, it's a blessing. If you breathe through your mouth, that is not going to happen, because mouth and lungs, they don't produce nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is produced in your paranasal sinuses, also is produced in your endothelial cells of the arteries, and that is also caused by, guess what, high volume workouts. So when you do high number of reps and high number of sets, you are increasing circulation through your arteries. When circulation is increased, you're putting more pressure on the arteries, and that pressure on arteries, even the smallest one, capillaries, which are everywhere, even in your brain, that pressure forces the endothelial cells in the arteries to produce nitric oxide, making them even further flexible. So, outdoor walks 45 to 60 minutes, 4 to 5 workouts per week. High volume, again, you see, is not that I'm in love with high volume. It's just the best thing that you can do, and you will be producing enough nitric oxides that will keep you in perfect metabolic state. So a quick insulin self-assessment test. I'm going to give you a quick insulin test that you can check if you are actually insulin resistant or you have low insulin sensitivity, and it's very simple to check that. I mean, you need to communicate with yourself, with your body. You simply ask yourself, do you get sleepy after meals? This is immediate signal that your insulin sensitivity is low. Do you store fat around the waist? So if you do, again, you are maybe insulin resistant, because this is where insulin stores most of the fat. Do you feel weak on high carbs when you're eating carbohydrates? Do you feel that something is wrong, that you're not as strong as you when you're on low carb diet? And do you crush if you don't eat carbohydrates? Do you feel that you're losing energy? And this is actually something that happens to so many people. And when I change diets of my clients, the first thing that happens in first few days, they would say, "Oh, Nash, I stop eating carbs. I feel devastated. I'm completely flat. I don't have energy. My training suffers." And this is the best signal that they are actually insulin resistance, or that the insulin sensitivity is very low, because once carbohydrates are taken out, it will take few days for you to adapt, and will take few days for those cells to open and start receiving more glucose and amino acids, and finally starts growing. So if everything that just mentioned, if your answer is yes, then you have low insulin sensitivity, and because of low insulin sensitivity, your muscle growth is obviously reduced, if there is any at all. Let me wrap it up for you. Bodybuilding is not about eating more, is not about proteins and macros, is about creating the body that is ready to grow. So if you fix that metabolic environment, the muscle growth is inevitable even after 50, 60, 70. There is absolutely no age limit on that. So guys, let me remind you once again that I have published 11 ebooks which are fully loaded with detailed explanation about everything that you always wanted to know in bodybuilding, like muscle growth, training systems, training splits, number of reps, number of sets, intensity, nutrition, training for beginners, natural bodybuilding, lifestyle change, and much, much more. So, if you're interested in expanding your knowledge, widening your horizons, simply click on the link in the comments and you can access my ebooks. I would also suggest that you watch this video in which I introduce other services, basically the ways that I can personally help you one tune to get in the best shape of your life to finally start growing muscles and losing body fat. Thousands of people have already benefited from working out with me on a personal basis. And if you're interested, my services of personalized training programs, personalized nutritional programs, telephone consultations, online coaching, and also personal training for people who live in London. So I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe to my channel, like the video, share the video, send me your comments, and I will see you in the next video.